coming weeks to ensure that we do something with that fuel. And that's one of the things that we're going to have conversations with the Iranians about. But what we know, John, is they no longer have the capacity to turn that stockpile of highly enriched uranium to weapons-grade uranium. And that was really the goal here.
Joining us now, Daria Dolzikova, a research analyst at the Proliferation and Nuclear Policy Program. Daria, thanks for taking the time with us. The International Atomic Energy Agency did release an update on Iran's nuclear sites after the U.S. attacks. Their latest one mentions that you can see there is visible damage to Fordow, and enrichment tunnels and plants also appear to have been impacted at 2 other sites. What questions do you still have about the scale of the damage this morning?
Well, there's a lot of questions still left. I mean, at Fordow, which you mentioned, we can see from satellite imagery that what looks like to be craters, so impact points, but this facility is very deep underground, so it's actually hard to assess what's happening underground, what damage might have been done, the extent of that damage. Similar questions around the underground facility at Natanz. We've had a little bit more confirmation around the fact that some of the centrifuges, or many of the centrifuges, seem to have been damaged at that facility as well. But the full extent is still not clear.
Yeah, some of the affected buildings at Esfahan also were related to the uranium conversion process. The tunnels used for storage appear to have been hit, was additional information from the IAEA. And they said they do expect that there is significant damage to have occurred at Fordow because these very heavy attacks and involving vibration-sensitive nature of centrifuges. So how long, if there were damages there, would it take for Iranians to repair and replace that kind of infrastructure?
I mean, it depends. It depends to what extent they actually want to replace it, and how much they would want to rebuild at the facilities that have been damaged.
Would they need to do so?
Well, so there's the outstanding question of what material and what equipment might have not been damaged. So there's been some talk of the possibility that some of the highly enriched uranium at some of the facilities might have been moved in advance of the strikes. That perhaps there's advanced centrifuge models that Iran still has elsewhere that it could use. Again, not to be trite, but we don't know, but there might be facilities that Iran could use to reconstitute using existing material if they've managed to save some of that.
At the time of the attacks, Iran already had a stockpile of enriched uranium, and you mentioned that they're claiming they moved some of that before these strikes. Here's some of what the White House press secretary said about the impacts of these attacks on that stockpile. Let's watch.
We have a high degree of confidence that where those strikes took place is where Iran's enriched uranium was stored. The president wouldn't have launched the strikes if we weren't confident in that. So this operation was a resounding success, and administration officials agree with that, as well as Israel.
Daria, is there any way in which the U.S. could actually know that's where the uranium was being stored?
I mean, I don't know what the intelligence capabilities were to identify specifically where the uranium might have been stored, but I mean, we had a decently good sense of the program in the last several months, years, because of International Atomic Energy Agency access. What has happened to that material over the last week and a half is a much more difficult question to answer. So yes, some of the material was stored at Isfahan for some time, but again, the last week and a half might have changed a lot of things on the ground.
So much to learn still. Daria Dolzikova, thank you very much.